The sleek Zephyrian reconnaissance vessel, Shadow Talon, materialized from the swirling vortex of hyperspace like a predator emerging from dark water. Its hull, a twisted amalgamation of biometal and crystalline technology, pulsed with an eerie, purple glow as it drifted silently past Neptune's frozen storms. Commander Vextal lounged in his command throne, 6 arms draped lazily over the armrests while his reptilian eyes scanned the holographic displays surrounding him. The Zephyrian's scaled skin shifted from deep green to amber as he processed the incoming data, a natural response when his species encountered something new to conquer. "Analysis complete, Commander," hissed Tactical Officer Zixmore, his forked tongue flicking out to taste the recycled air. Third planet from the star shows signs of developing civilization, approximately 8 billion carbon-based bipeds scattered across 7 major landmasses. Vextal's mandibles clicked in amusement. Technology level? Primitive nuclear fission, basic chemical propulsion, electromagnetic communications. They have managed to place crude satellites in orbit and established a small presence on their primary moon. Zixmore paused, studying his readings more carefully. Curious, though, Commander. Their planet shows evidence of extensive industrialization, but their space presence is remarkably limited for a species of their development level. Typical. Vextal waved a dismissive claw. These ground-bound species always focus on fighting each other instead of reaching for the stars. What about military capabilities? Laughable. Zixmore's eyes gleamed with predatory satisfaction. Multiple nation-states in constant territorial disputes. Their most advanced weapons are fusion-based explosive devices, completely useless against our shielding. No orbital defense platforms, no energy weapons, no unified planetary government. A standard conquest protocol should suffice. Commander. Vextal stretched his serpentine neck, vertebrae popping audibly. In his 3 centuries of service to the Galactic Empire, he had overseen the annexation of over 200 worlds. This blue marble spinning lazily in space would be conquest number 201, hardly worth remembering. Begin standard reconnaissance. Pattern, he ordered, settling back into his throne. Catalog their resources, map population centers, identify any potential resistance leaders. We will let them discover our presence gradually. Allow the fear to build. Nothing breaks a species' will to fight like knowing they are completely outmatched. The Shadow Talon adjusted its course, sensor arrays extending like metallic flowers, blooming in the vacuum. Its cloaking systems engaged, rendering the ship invisible to primitive human detection methods, or so the Zephyrians believed. 9,000 miles below, buried 300 feet beneath the granite peaks of the Taebaek Mountains in South Korea, Colonel Park Jin-ho sat motionless in front of a bank of monitors that officially did not exist. The facility, codenamed Deepwatch, had been humanity's best-kept secret for over 2 decades. The screens before him painted a story that would have terrified world leaders if they had been allowed to know it existed. Gravitational anomaly. Detectors showed the telltale signature of a massive object decelerating from faster-than-light speeds. Quantum resonance scanners, reverse-engineered from technology that officially had never been found, detected the unmistakable energy signature of non-human propulsion systems. Contact bearing 270, distance approximately 4 billion kilometers and closing, reported Lieutenant Kim Nari from her station. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces that would have looked like magic to most humans. Mass. Displacement suggests a vessel approximately 800 meters in length. Energy signature matches theoretical models for Type 7 galactic civilizations. Park Jin-ho's weathered face remained impassive, but his knuckles whitened as he gripped his chair. 23 years of military service, including classified operations that had taken him to places that did not appear on any map, had prepared him for many things, but nothing had truly prepared him for this moment. Stealth capabilities, he asked quietly. Confirmed. They believe they are undetected. Standard cloaking technology, exactly as predicted by the theoretical models. Kim Nari's voice carried the weight of years spent preparing for this exact scenario. She had been handpicked for Deepwatch, not just for her technical expertise, but for her ability to remain calm under pressure that would break most people. Around them, The facility hummed with barely contained energy. Corridors carved from living. Rock-housed technology that represented humanity's greatest achievement and most dangerous secret. For 50 years, a small group of scientists, military officers, and intelligence operatives had worked in absolute secrecy, preparing for the day when humanity would no longer be alone in the universe. Park Jin-ho reached for the red telephone that sat on his desk like a coiled snake ready to strike. The secure line connected him directly to similar facilities hidden beneath the mountains of Colorado, the depths of the Australian outback, and the ice sheets of Antarctica. Each facility housed teams just like his own, teams that had sacrificed normal lives to become humanity's silent guardians. His finger hovered over the speed dial that would change everything. Once he made this call, there would be no going back. The greatest gamble in human history was about to begin, and the stakes could not be higher. Success meant survival. Failure meant extinction. The alien ship continued its approach, its crew completely unaware that their every move was being monitored by the very primitives they planned to conquer. The void render emerged from hyperspace, like death itself materializing in the void. Stretching nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, the Zephyrian dreadnought was a masterpiece of terror and destruction. Its obsidian hull bore the scars of 1,000 conquered worlds, each mark a testament to the Empire's unstoppable advance. Across the galaxy, Commander Vextal stood on the bridge's observation deck, his 6 eyes gleaming with satisfaction as Earth's moon grew larger in the viewports. Behind him, the ship's crew moved with practiced efficiency, their scaled hands dancing across biomechanical control surfaces that pulsed with alien life. "Position achieved, Commander," announced Navigation Officer Kreldun, his gills fluttering with excitement. "We are now in optimal broadcast range of the primitive world." The dreadnought's massive communication arrays unfolded like the wings of some cosmic predator. Energy crackled between crystalline transmission nodes as the ship prepared to deliver the Empire's standard ultimatum to yet another doomed species. "Begin planetary broadcast," Vextel commanded, his voice carrying the authority of countless successful conquests. "Let these creatures understand their fate." The transmission burst forth from the void render with the force of a stellar flare. It penetrated every electromagnetic frequency, overwhelmed every communication satellite, and forced its way into every electronic device on Earth's surface. Television programs vanished in bursts of static. Radio stations fell silent. Cell phones screamed with alien harmonics that made human ears bleed. In New York, Times Square's massive digital billboards flickered and died, replaced by the terrifying visage of Commander Vextal. His reptilian features filled every screen, while his synthesized voice echoed from speakers across the globe. "Primitive humans of the third planet." The words hammered into every human mind like nails into a coffin. "I am Commander Vextal of the Zephyrian Galactic Empire. Your species has been selected for annexation. You will surrender unconditionally within 72 hours. Your governments will dissolve. Your military forces will stand down. Your population will submit to imperial processing." The alien's mandibles clicked ominously as he continued. "Resistance will result in your species' complete extinction. We have burned the skies of 10,000 worlds. Your pathetic technology cannot harm us. Your primitive weapons are useless against our might. You have 72 hours to accept your fate, or we will demonstrate why the galaxy fears the Empire's wrath." The transmission ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving Earth in stunned silence. 300 feet beneath the Korean mountains, Dr. Lee Min-ho watched the chaos unfold on monitors, displaying feeds from around the world. The director of Project Lazarus had spent 30 years preparing for this moment, but seeing it happen still sent ice through his veins. On one screen, the President of the United States was screaming at his Joint Chiefs of Staff, demanding to know why they had no defense against alien invasion. On another, the Prime Minister of Britain was being hustled into a bunker, while London burned with riots. Every world leader was asking the same desperate questions that no one could answer. "Sir, we're receiving priority transmissions from every major government," reported Communications Officer Kim Sora, her fingers flying across quantum-encrypted keyboards. They want to know if we have any contingency for this scenario. Lee Minho almost smiled at the irony. For 50 years, Project Lazarus had operated in absolute secrecy, dismissed by politicians as paranoid fantasy. Now those same politicians were begging for the solutions they had refused to fund or acknowledge. "Patch me through to the Global Defense Council," he ordered. "Emergency Authentication Code Omega 77 Alpha." Within minutes, the underground facility's main screen filled with faces of world leaders huddled in their most secure bunkers. The President of Russia, the Premier of China, the Chancellor of Germany, all looking to him for answers they had never wanted to hear. "Dr. Lee," the American president's voice cracked with barely controlled panic, "please tell me you have something." "Anything." Lee Minho looked directly into the camera, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the terror surrounding him. "Project Lazarus has been operational for 5 decades, preparing for exactly this scenario. We are ready to implement the deep protocols." "What does that mean?" demanded the Chinese premier. "It means we respond as humanity should respond, Lee," Minho replied. "Kim Sora, activate Deep Protocol Transmission Array." His communications officer hesitated, her hand hovering over a control that would change everything. "Sir, once we send this message, there's no going back. The aliens will—" "No, we're not what we appear to be." Lee Minho turned to face her, and for a moment, Kim Sora saw not the calm scientist she had worked with for years, but something far more dangerous. Something that had been waiting patiently in the shadows for this exact moment. "There was never any going back," he said quietly. "The moment they entered our system, they sealed their fate." Lee Minho moved to a secure terminal and began typing humanity's response. Each word was chosen carefully, each phrase designed to deliver a message that would echo across the galaxy. When he finished, he looked once more at the faces of world leaders who were about to discover what their species was truly capable of. "You have 24 hours to withdraw from our system," he read aloud as the message prepared to transmit. "This is your only warning." The words shot across space faster than light itself, riding quantum channels that the Zephyrians couldn't detect or intercept. Aboard the Void Render, Commander Vextal received the human response and felt his mandibles spread in what his species considered laughter. "Magnificent," he hissed to his bridge crew. "These primitives actually believe they can threaten us. Such delicious arrogance will make their subjugation all the more satisfying." But deep in the ship's scanning arrays, automated systems detected something that should have been impossible. The human transmission had arrived through channels that required technology far beyond what their reconnaissance had indicated. For just a moment, warning indicators flashed across alien monitors. Then they were dismissed as sensor glitches, and the Empire's greatest mistake continued unchanged. Commander Vextal's claws tapped impatiently against his command throne as he watched, the human deadline tick away on his chronometer. 23 hours had passed since the pathetic bipeds had dared to issue him an ultimatum. The sheer audacity of it still amused him. "Summon the Death's Edge and Star Render from the outer patrol," he commanded, his forked tongue flicking out to taste the recycled air of his ship. "I want them positioned at the system's edge." His tactical officer, Zixmore, raised his scaled head in confusion. "Commander, surely the Void Render alone is sufficient to handle these primitives. Why deploy additional vessels?" Vextal 6. Eyes glowed with predatory satisfaction. "Not for conquest, you fool, for containment. When we begin the orbital bombardment, I want every possible escape route sealed. No human vessel leaves this system alive. The galaxy must never hear tales of a species foolish enough to resist the Empire." Across the solar system, 2 more Zephyrian dreadnoughts materialized from hyperspace. The Death's Edge positioned itself beyond Pluto's orbit, its sensor arrays sweeping space for any sign of fleeing human ships. The Star Render took position near Jupiter, its massive bulk casting shadows across the gas giant's swirling storms. "System sealed, Commander," reported Navigation Officer Krell Dunn. "All hyperspace exit points are monitored. Standard annexation protocol is in effect." Vextal settled back in his throne, savoring the moment. In 30 minutes, the human deadline would expire. Then he would demonstrate why the Empire had conquered half the galaxy. He would start with their largest population center, perhaps that sprawling hive they called New York. A single blast from the Void Render's primary cannon would vaporize 8 million humans in the blink of an eye. The thought made his mandibles click with pleasure. Deep beneath the Taebaek Mountains, Captain Choi Hyun moved through corridors that had never appeared on any blueprint. The Deep Watch facility was just one node in a network that spanned the globe, each installation connected by quantum tunnels that defied conventional physics. Status report from all stations, Choi Hyun barked into his headset as he strode past. Banks of humming machinery that seemed to pulse with their own inner life. Antarctic base reports full readiness, came the first response. All deep arrays are online and synchronized. Colorado Mountain confirms weapon systems armed and tracking. Australian deep site shows green across all boards. Siberian installation. Ready for final protocol activation. 27 hidden facilities across Earth, each one a monument to human ingenuity and preparation. For 5 decades, the best minds of every nation had worked in absolute secrecy, preparing for the day when humanity would face extinction from the stars. In the facility's main data center, Sergeant Park Minji worked at a console that looked more like alien technology than human engineering, which in many ways it was. Every circuit, every quantum processor, every piece of exotic matter that powered their systems had been reverse engineered from artifacts that officially didn't exist. Upload sequence at 97%, she announced, sweat beading on her forehead despite the underground facility's constant cool temperature. All Empire fleet positions confirmed, weapon frequencies catalogued, tactical doctrines analyzed and uploaded to the network. Around her, dozens of technicians monitored displays showing information that would have been impossible for any primitive civilization to possess. Complete schematics of Zephyrian dreadnoughts, the exact molecular composition of their hull armor, the frequency signatures of their shield generators, the psychological profiles of their commanders, everything humanity needed to turn the Empire's greatest strength into their fatal weakness. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Jang Min-soo from the communications array, "we are receiving confirmation signals from all global deep sites. Everyone is ready for final protocol activation." Captain Choi Hyun nodded grimly. He had trained for this moment for 20 years, but knowing it was finally here still sent cold electricity through his veins. "Patch me through to Dr. Lee Min-ho." The main screen flickered to life, showing the director of Project Lazarus in his command center. Behind Lee Min-ho, banks of monitors displayed the positions of all 3 alien vessels, their courses tracked, with precision that would have shocked their crews. "Captain Choi," Lee Min-ho's voice was calm, almost conversational. "Are your teams ready?" "All stations report full readiness, sir. We are prepared to implement final protocols on your command." Lee Min-ho nodded slowly, then turned to address not just Captain Choi Hyun, but every human being in every hidden facility across the globe. His words would be recorded for history, if humanity survived to have a history. "For 50 years, we have prepared for this moment. Our parents and grandparents saw the signs in the sky and chose to act rather than hope. They built these facilities, they developed these technologies, they sacrificed their lives to give us this chance." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "Today we honor their sacrifice. Today we show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of. Activate the final protocol." Across Earth, hidden transmitters that had remained silent for decades suddenly burst to life. They didn't broadcast to human receivers. Instead, they sent their signals racing across space, using quantum channels that traveled faster than light itself. The message was simple, just one word that carried the weight of human defiance. Witness. It reached every corner of the galaxy in mere seconds. Every alien civilization, every spacefaring species, every intelligence that had ever looked up at the stars received humanity's declaration. The message carried with it something else, coordinates, pointing back to Earth's solar system, an invitation to watch what happened when someone threatened humanity. On his command throne aboard the Void Render, Commander Vextal glanced at his chronometer. 5 minutes remained until the human deadline expired. Soon he would show these primitives the price of defying the Empire. He had no idea that across the galaxy, 1 million different species were turning their sensors toward Earth, drawn by humanity's impossible transmission. Ancient civilizations that had hidden from the Empire for millennia emerged from the shadows to watch. Warrior races that had never known defeat prepared to witness something unprecedented. The countdown continued, each second bringing humanity closer to either salvation or extinction. Commander Vextal's mandibles spread in anticipation. The great demonstration was about to begin. The moment had arrived. Commander Vextal rose from his command throne, his 6 eyes gleaming with anticipation, as Earth's blue marble filled the Void Render's main viewport. The 24-hour deadline had expired 3 minutes ago, and now these arrogant humans would learn the price of defying the Galactic Empire. "Target acquired, Commander," announced Weapons Officer Kulvex, his scaled fingers dancing across. "Biomechanical firing controls. New York City Population Center locked in. Primary plasma cannon charged to full capacity." Vextal's mandibles spread in what his species considered a smile. 8 million humans would die in the next few seconds. Their city turned to radioactive glass as a lesson to the rest of their pathetic species. The demonstration would be broadcast across all human communication networks, ensuring maximum psychological impact. "All vessels, prepare to record the bombardment," he commanded over the fleet channel. "I want every human on that planet to see what happens when they refuse Imperial mercy." The Void Render's primary weapon system hummed with barely contained energy. Deep within the ship's core, antimatter mixed with exotic particles in chambers that could have powered a small star. Targeting computers locked onto the sprawling metropolis below, calculating trajectory and blast radius with mechanical precision. Firing. "Solution confirmed," Kulvex reported, his claws hovering over the final firing stud. "Ready to demonstrate Imperial power, Commander." Vextal savored the moment, letting the anticipation build. This was always his favorite part of a conquest, the instant when a species realized their complete helplessness. He raised one clawed hand dramatically, then brought it down in a slashing motion. "Fire!" Kulvex slammed his fist onto the firing. "Control." Nothing happened. The weapons officer stared at his console in confusion, then began frantically pressing buttons. Status lights that should have glowed red remained stubbornly dark. Power readings that should have spiked to maximum showed only zeros. "Commander," Kulvex's voice cracked with disbelief, "weapons are not responding. All firing systems show complete power failure." Before Vextal could respond, alarms began shrieking throughout the ship. Navigation Officer Kreldun spun toward his commander, gills fluttering with panic. "Sir, we have total engine failure. Hyperdrive offline, sublight propulsion dead. Maneuvering thrusters not responding." "Shields down," screamed Tactical Officer Zixmore. "All defensive systems show critical malfunction." Across the fleet, identical scenes played out aboard the Death's Edge and Star Render. 3 massive dreadnoughts, each capable of reducing planets to cosmic dust, suddenly hung powerless in space like children's toys, abandoned in a bathtub. Vextal's roar of rage echoed through the bridge as he realized the impossible truth. Somehow, these primitive humans had done something to his ships. But how? Their technology was centuries behind the Empire's. They barely had fusion power, while his vessels ran on controlled black holes. "Emergency power," he bellowed. "Switch to backup." "Systems." "All backups show failure, Commander," Kreldun reported, his voice hollow with shock. "Even our emergency life support is running on reserve batteries." Then, as if the universe itself was mocking them, every viewscreen aboard every alien vessel flickered to life simultaneously. But instead of showing their own ship's status, they displayed something that made Vextal's blood turn to ice in his veins. Earth was no longer the primitive blue marble they had surveilled. The planet's true face was finally revealing itself. Around Earth's equator, massive structures uncloaked themselves from stealth fields that had hidden them for decades. They weren't natural formations or crude human architecture. They were weapons platforms, each one larger than a Zephyrian battlecruiser, bristling with energy cannons that crackled with power beyond anything in the Empire's arsenal. The moon itself seemed to crack open like an egg, revealing hidden lunar bases carved deep into its core. Weapon arrays emerged from concealed hangars, their targeting systems already locked onto the helpless alien fleet. What the Zephyrians had dismissed as humanity's pathetic lunar colonies were actually the most sophisticated military installations in known space. But that wasn't the worst of it. Across the solar system, objects they had catalogued as asteroids and space debris suddenly powered up, revealing themselves as camouflaged battle stations. Jupiter's moons sprouted defensive grids. Saturn's rings rearranged themselves into geometric patterns that could only be artificial. The entire solar system was a trap, and they had flown directly into its jaws. From a command center hidden within Luna's depths, Colonel Oh Jinwoo watched the alien fleet's panicked attempts to restore power. His weathered face showed no emotion as he opened a communication channel that bypassed every encryption system the Empire possessed. "Attention, vessels of the Zephyrian Galactic Empire," his calm voice echoed through every corridor of every alien ship. "Welcome to Earth's solar system. I'm Colonel Oh Jinwoo, commander of the Terran Defense Grid." On the Void Renders Bridge, Vextal stared at the human face that appeared on his screens. This wasn't one of the terrified primitives he had expected to conquer. This was something far more dangerous, a predator wearing the mask of prey. "You are now prisoners of the human species," Colonel Oh Jinwoo continued, his tone conversational despite the magnitude of his words. "Your weapons are disabled. Your engines are dead. Your shields are down. Any attempt to restore power to offensive systems will result in immediate destruction." Around the alien fleet, Earth's hidden weapons came online with brilliant flashes of energy. Each cannon was powerful enough to crack a moon in half, and there were thousands of them, all trained on the helpless invaders. "How?" Vextal whispered, though he knew the human could hear him through their impossible communication systems. Colonel Oh Jinwoo's expression never changed. "We've been watching you for 50 years, Commander. Every signal you've ever transmitted, every technology you've ever used, every tactical doctrine you've ever employed. We know your ships better than you do." The colonel leaned forward slightly, and for the first time, Vextal saw something in the human's eyes that made his reptilian heart skip a beat. It was the look of an apex predator that had been playing with its food. Did you really think a species that conquered its own planet through warfare wouldn't be prepared for war among the stars? The trap that humanity had spent half a century preparing snapped shut around the Zephyrian fleet with the finality of a coffin lid. 3 dreadnoughts that had terrorized 100 worlds now drifted helplessly in the void, their crews finally understanding what it meant to be prey. The demonstration was over. Now came humanity's turn to teach the galaxy about fear. The quantum transmission array deep beneath Earth's surface hummed with power that could have lit up entire cities. Dr. Lee Minho stood before the primary broadcast station, his calm demeanor masking the magnitude of what he was about to unleash upon the galaxy. "Broadcasting in 3, 2, 1, announced Communications Officer Kim Sora from her station. "Signal is live across all Imperial networks." What happened next would be remembered as the moment the galaxy's balance of power shifted forever. Dr. Lee Minho's face appeared simultaneously on every screen in the Zephyrian Empire, not just military vessels or government buildings, but everywhere. Personal devices, entertainment systems, even the bioneural implants that some alien species used for communication. The transmission pierced through every encryption, bypassed every security protocol, and reached into the deepest corners of Imperial space. On the capital world of Zephyr Prime, Emperor Colthax was in the middle of his daily feeding ritual when every surface in his crystalline palace suddenly displayed the face of a human. The ancient ruler's 12 tentacles writhed in shock as he recognized what he was seeing. A species that should have been extinct within the hour was somehow broadcasting directly into the heart of his empire. "Greetings to all citizens of the Galactic Empire," Dr. Lee Minho began, his voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone who held all the cards. "I am Dr. Lee Minho, Director of Terran Defense Operations, speaking to you from what you know as the 3rd planet of the Sol system. Across 1,000 worlds, trillions of beings stopped whatever they were doing to stare at screens showing this impossible transmission. The humans' words were being automatically translated into every known language, reaching species that had never even heard of Earth. For 50 years we have prepared for your arrival," Dr. Lee Minho continued, gesturing to displays that materialized behind him. Every invasion movie, every science fiction story, every what-if scenario you dismissed as primitive entertainment was actually a training exercise. You see primitive humans because we wanted you to see primitives. The displays behind him showed intelligence that should have been impossible for any species to possess. Complete star charts of Empire space, detailed schematics of every class of Imperial warship, psychological profiles of military commanders dating back centuries, trade route manifests, population densities, resource allocation reports. On Zephyr, Prime Emperor Colthax felt his ancient heart skip beats as he realized the scope of what he was seeing. These humans had infiltrated every aspect of Imperial society without anyone noticing. They knew everything. "We have been watching you." Dr. Lee Minho's voice carried across the galaxy with the weight of absolute certainty. "Every transmission you've sent, we've intercepted. Every ship you've built, we've studied. Every tactic you've employed, we've analyzed and prepared counters for. What you call the most powerful fleet in the galaxy is currently drifting powerless in our solar system, their crews wondering how their primitive targets just became their captors." The transmission cut to live footage from space, showing the 3 Zephyrian dreadnoughts hanging helpless near Earth. The mighty vessels that had conquered countless worlds now looked like broken toys floating in the void. Major Kim Tae-hyung stepped into view, his military uniform bearing insignia that no alien had ever seen before. His presence radiated the quiet authority of someone who spoke for an entire species that had just revealed its true nature. "I am Major Kim Tae-hyung, appointed as Earth's first Minister of Galactic Affairs," he announced, his words causing shockwaves across Imperial space. The humans had already established diplomatic positions, as if they had expected this moment for decades. Effective immediately, Earth and the Sol system are declared off-limits to all alien civilizations. Any ship approaching our system will be destroyed without warning. Any world harboring those who threaten humanity will share their fate. His tone was conversational, as if he was discussing the weather rather than rewriting galactic law. "This is not a negotiation. This is not a treaty. This is notification of the new reality." Behind Major Kim Tae-hyung, tactical displays showed the true scope of humanity's preparation. Hidden fleets positioned throughout the galaxy, sleeper agents embedded in alien societies, weapons platforms disguised as space debris in strategic systems. Earth hadn't just prepared to defend itself, it had prepared to wage war across the entire galaxy if necessary. On the bridge of the Void Render, Commander Vextal watched the transmission with growing horror. His species had ruled through fear for millennia, but now he was experiencing that same fear from the receiving end. These humans weren't just defending themselves, they were announcing their intention to become the galaxy's new apex predator. "To demonstrate our commitment to this new paradigm," Dr. Lee Minho continued, "we will allow one vessel from your fleet to depart our system. Commander Vextal, choose which of your ships will carry our message back to your empire. The other 2 will remain as our guests until we decide their fate." Across the galaxy, the implications hit every alien civilization like a physical blow. These humans hadn't just defended themselves, they had turned the Empire's own doctrine against them. Fear was now flowing in the opposite direction. The transmission ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. On Zephyr Prime, Emperor Colthax slumped in his throne as the full magnitude of the situation became clear. His empire had just encountered something it had never faced before, a species that was better at warfare than they were. Deep in Earth's command center, Dr. Lee Minho watched as the badly damaged Death's Edge limped away from Earth's solar system, its crew having witnessed the birth of humanity's galactic presence. The ship's hyperdrive flickered to life, carrying news of Earth's revelation to every corner of Imperial space. Lieutenant Kim Nari approached with a tablet showing status reports from around the globe. "Sir, all systems are showing green. Earth's defense grid is fully operational. Our deep space monitoring stations report no additional Imperial movement toward our system." Dr. Lee Minho nodded, then turned to address the room full of personnel who had just participated in the most important moment in human history. "Phase 1 is complete. Earth is secure, and the galaxy now knows we exist. He paused, looking around, at faces that reflected both exhaustion and exhilaration. Begin Phase 2. It's time for humanity to take its place among the stars. Across the command center, technicians began activating systems that had remained dormant for decades. Hidden construction facilities started building the ships that would carry humanity to distant worlds. Diplomatic protocols were initialized for first contact with species that weren't trying to conquer Earth. The age of human expansion had begun, and the stars themselves would learn to fear the name of humanity. The end.